One more day. Welcome back to Sound of Siren. I'm Xavier.
I'm Dylan. Welcome back to another Supercoach series episode, the second of the year. I do apologise for the deplorable lighting. This is a last-minute call-up, and we decided late at night, why not have an STS After Dark episode? We need to do a couple things. How are you, boys?
I'm good, thanks. It's like Christmas Eve, isn't it? It's the night before the season. It's exciting. Just had to get this last episode out to make sure all you guys are on top of your teams, and you can have one last look at our team before the season starts. And last couple of episodes have been pretty good. We've been doing pretty well, so get this one out real quick and help you all out.
But this will be the final reveal, and there's been a few questions on our Instagram page. Can we see it? Can we see it on the dawn of the season? So we've answered your request. This will be the final time revealing your side for this season, and we will put that at the back of this episode. But first, Darcy has some rookies that he's eager to speak about.
Right, so we've got some confirmed rookies in the house, and it's nice to hear, but it's not enough at this point. So we've got Kane Baldwin from Essendon. He's a forward, 123,000. I think he's an easy slot onto your bench, if not F6 if you have to. Mm-hmm. And then we've got Brady Ho is how we're going to pronounce it here at STS. Not sure if that's correct.
I believe it's Hoff. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Brady Ho, 117,000 in the midfield for West Coast. I don't know if he's got great job security in the long term, but West Coast have a lot of injuries at the moment, and they don't have many on their list, it seems like. So he should be good for a couple of weeks. And if he performs, then he could be all right. Then in the back line, we've got some of the expensive options. We've got Josh Gibcus for Richmond.
Yep.
171,000. Dimmer's announced today that he will be playing. I don't know what his role will be like in terms of Supercoach scoring, but at this point, playing a rookie in the defence is as good as a premium in defence, pretty much.
Yeah. And
then we've also got the defensive forward, Paddy McCartan, come back to play his first game in 4 years, I believe. 157,000, and you can fit him on your field in the back line there. And got to hope he does all right. And then there's the Dacos, the Ward, and the Horn Francis, which are assumed, and Rochelle as well. They're assumed to be playing, but they haven't been announced as debutants yet. But at this point, you can pretty much lock them in.
I'm sold on Paddy McCartan. Gibcus is just outside of my price allocation. Brady Hoff, you'll see later in the episode, I do have him. But Kane Baldwin, I actually did my research. The only concern for him is he tore his ACL in 2019. So contingent on his durability, I may or may have not selected him. But how do we feel? You briefly touched on this, Darcy. If he was an F6 option, is that reliable or is it not sustainable?
I think you prefer a better option. I've got Rochelle at F6, and it's pretty consistent with my team to have pretty much all decently expensive players across the board. But I think it's a bit short. I don't know if he play for very long. I think he's in at the moment with Harry Jones being out, so that helps him. But I don't know if he'll be there for very long, and if there'll be rookies to come fill in his spot at this point. So it's risky. I much prefer him on the bench.
Dave?
Yeah, I think as you said, Dylan, Paddy McCartan, I think he's as close to a lock as you get at the moment, 157K. As Darcy was saying before, just a body in the back line that's actually going to play is something that we haven't got much of, so he's got to come in. Dacos, Ward, Hon, Francis, obviously most teams are going to have them. Baldwin, we're going to show my team in a minute, but at the moment he's sitting at my F6, so it's a little shallow in there, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. Now, we do like to leave things late here on the podcast, and it's nearly the day of the first game. So we do have some late locks, some late picks, and I know, Xavier, you wanted to touch on this briefly?
Yeah, so as far as locks that in my team now that I didn't have in our last episode, Paddy McCartan, I just touched on him. He's 100%. He's got to be in every team. I think he can field him, but also if you have the luxury of putting him on your bench, then that's a good option too. Dacos, I didn't have him. I've got him now. I think both of those have to be in everyone's teams. He had 30 touches and 100 Supercoach in their practice match. So I think both of them are really, really difficult to miss.
Xavier touched on the two good ones. I haven't changed my locks too much. My team is pretty much locked in general. It'll only be really moving around the fringes. So you've got I've gone interesting. I've gone a bit left field. Because I just got sick of seeing the same team every time when I was doing all those team reviews. So I've gone a bit different. But I've got McRae, Steele as the absolute locks. Neil, lock. Grundy, lock. And then Cornelio, as we touched on last time, lock. So yeah, they're what I'm running with in terms of locks at this point, but I think not much of it will change.
Yeah. Now I will just quickly return to the rookies. Sam De Koning for the Cats. I didn't expect him to poll well on the Supercoach side of things. He only averaged 12 and a half disposals playing in the NAB competition, but he polled well on the weekend. Is he a possible certainty?
He's just about a lock for me, I think. I don't think he's going to score well at all. Like I'm expecting a 45 to 55 average from him, but I think without Lockie Henderson, he's going to step right into that role and play every week. And Darcy touched on it at the very start. I touched on it with McCartan, but when you've got so few defender rookies, and someone at 123k is a luxury that I think you have to have. But obviously, if you can put him on your bench, then that's an added bonus.
Yeah, I would say he's not a certainty to play, considering Geelong's strength in their list, but if he is playing, he's a certainty to be picked.
I think Josh Jenkins had big raps for him as well after the last practice match. He pretty much said that he's had one of the best pre-seasons of anyone on the team, and he's looking really good to go. So hopefully he can get in there and stay in there for the whole year.
Now, just a couple of observations from my scope. Will Brodie and Jade Gresham, is it fair to say that you would probably only need one of those two?
I think depends what the rest of your structure is looking like. Obviously, everyone's going to have Cornelio. He's got to be the first picked in everyone's teams. Could average 100 at 261k, just big bonus. But there's other players. Their teams are picking Tristan Cherry. People are looking at him. McGovern. So you can't have all of these blokes, but I think you can afford to have two of them plus Cornelio, no problem. But who those two are, it depends.
Tristan Xerri could even fill the void for Braden Preuss. And speaking of Braden Preuss, just the one round miss. If you do have him on your bench, I personally think that's okay, but I wouldn't start him.
I think Cherry's just forward eligible, but
he
should get that.
Cherry should be. Is Cherry not ruck forward?
No, Cherry's just forward, but I'm just saying in terms of price.
But if you did throw him in your forward line and you had Preuss in the ruck, then I guess it's easy cover if Preuss doesn't turn out well. You can switch Cherry in there if you wanted to, because I'm sure he'll have the ruck eligibility by round 6 under the new rules. So,
Darcy, you seemed to be a little perplexed about Jerry. Did you think he should be a ruckman?
Yeah. Well, that's why North kept him. North held on to him for the ruck purposes. The future is CCJ and Cherry as the rucks. They should be a good ruck combo. And it'll be interesting to see if he does actually play the main ruck this year. I don't think he will early. He might late, but I think I'm still expecting Goldie to take on that role, because I don't think Goldie's quite good enough to be in the forward line. So if Goldie's getting a game, he should be playing ruck.
Yeah, and it's fair to say that Charlie Comben only moves further down the hierarchy.
He's picked. If he's picked as a key forward. And that'd be a good combo along with Larky and maybe CCJ. But I think there's just too many big guys there. His only real chances maybe in the back line, or if one of Cherry or CCJ is missing. So,
I don't have Tristan Cherry as it stands, but I think if he does play like a genuine ruckman and plays majority of the game in ruck, they do move Goldstein forward. He's going to be someone that we look at at the end of the first 2 rounds before prices change, and like he's someone that will have to get in if he scores back-to-back hundreds playing ruck. It's just such a super coach friendly role that he's someone that I think you need to have if he does play that position. But obviously there are doubts.
Yeah.
Just keep a little coin to the side. I know I don't have much, but have a way to him.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't go well, I think.
Any last minute considerations? Boys, we did have some pod picks on the widely promulgated AFL Supercoach account that just surpassed 5,000 followers. But if you're interested in the pods, be sure to have a look at that. But are there any last minutes positions that you might be having a little glance at?
Yes, I'm struggling between Taranto and Dunkley. Dunkley is a bit more expensive, so I will need to downgrade someone to get to Dunkley instead of Taranto. I currently have Taranto as it stands, but I'm just weighing up whether it's worth the jump to Dunkley. And then I'm also, Cripps is probably the one player I'm not entirely sold on, and maybe Jared Berry. I think all in all, if I were to go Cripps to Horn-Francis, Berry to Rao, and Taranto to Dunkley, that's pretty much my toss-up. It's Cripps, Berry, and Taranto, or Horn-Francis, Rao, and Dunkley with extra cash to go to a Cherry or upgrade my rookies or whatever. So
Yeah.
If you have an opinion on that, please share, but I don't blame you for not.
I think that's fairly similar to me. At least the the Taranto Dunkley problem is something I had most preseason until I watched the televised GWS practice match, and Taranto just hardly played any midfield, and I think that's going to be the way that it is until at least Toby Green gets back and he'll take that forward role, and then maybe Taranto can get a run through that midfield again, in which case he's probably going to be a bit cheaper and you can pick him up for less price and still get that same output. But as far as the Cripps one, that's also a problem that I'm having, except I have Horn-Francis already, but I have Horn-Francis on my bench and I'm looking maybe trading Cripps to someone like Dustin Martin, but it's difficult because then if I do that, I have Rao at M4, and I feel like that's a little bit shallow given that most of my year I had 4 genuine premiums in Oliver, McRae, Steele, Neal, and Cripps, and then Cripps as well at M5. But yeah, it's difficult. I'm still a bit confused.
For me, it's specifically Blues and Dockers. I could easily move Rao to Cripps. I did have Cripps in my last team reveal. And then there's Luke Ryan in the defense, who is a low priority pick for most super coaches. There's Adam Chera, who was somewhat engulfed by the Freo midfield last year, and he's at a decent price, and I feel like he'll flourish this year. And then there's also Andy Brayshaw, who's in the same price market as Luke Parker, who I also did have in the last team reveal. So a lot of speculation from me. I'm comfortable with the team, but there's always doubt in my mind.
The thing that I'm scared of is that come 5 weeks, 6 weeks away, we're just going to be kicking ourselves over a bloke we talked about all preseason and didn't get. That's the thing with Cripps for me. I've been pumping him up. We've all been pumping him up somewhat. I don't know about you, Dylan. A little bit.
A little bit. It's just in the previous years, he's let me down.
Me and Xavier have been pumping him. Plenty of people have been pumping him. And if I don't stick with my guns and I don't go with him and he does well, I'll just hate myself for it. So that's the thing. I feel like almost at this point that I don't really want to change my team, because then I'll hate myself if one of them does well. But it's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. You can't have everyone, or at least until the later part of the season.
If Cripps averages 110 at 450k, you're just going to be furious all year. It'd be the worst if you trade him out. And similarly, if I trade Cripps to Martin and Martin doesn't play well, I'm not going to be happy with myself at all. So,
or if Cripps is bad and Rout as well, it's a lose-lose situation at this point.
The thing is, does Sam Walsh's return impede Patrick Cripps?
I don't think it will. I think more so Chera, the one you were thinking about getting, I think it will impact him more. But Cripps is someone that he's going to play inside mid 80% of the time. Maybe rotate through the forward line if he's injured or if he's a bit tired. But yeah, he's just a beast that plays midfield. So I don't think it'll impact his role at all.
Now, quick proposition. Let's say, for example, you downgrade someone about 580,000, we'll say. You downgrade them to Cripps. Would it then be worth upgrading the Essendon rookie, it slipped my mind, Baldwin to a possible Gresham pick, and then having Gresham and Brodie?
Very theoretical situation.
I think this 100% Dylan Steve.
As I said, a lot of speculation.
No, it's I don't know if you're gonna gain,
okay,
or if that makes sense. If you add up the points and compare, I don't think you'll be gaining much from it.
There's just a plethora of mid-price players this year. You've got Berry and Caldwell. That's a different situation as well. And then there's Cripps, Rowell. Too many to count. But it's nearly that time for the team reveals. It is that time.
It has changed a lot since we last saw it.
And the other thing I do notice is, compared to previous years, the amount of money spent on the bench.
Mm-hmm. I know Xavier's previously been one of the biggest mid-price haters. He's got, you'd say, 4 you could debate.
There's still a lot that I'm going to change, or I could still change as well. Gibcus, he'll go the second that Sin or Hinge gets named. Hinge was under a bit of an injury cloud, and we're not sure if Sin is going to play, but if one of those two gets named, Gibcus will go. Horn Francis, and I'm trying to get him on the field for Cripps. That was the Cripps Martin trade that I was talking about, so we'll see if that pans out. But other than that, I'm fairly set.
Do we have a definitive answer on Sin?
Maybe a short, crisp one as well.
We won't have a definitive answer until he runs out on whenever they play. I'm gonna guess Saturday or Sunday. We won't know until it's out there for sure. Ken Hinkley said a couple of weeks ago he's on track to be in round 1, but that's just so vague.
I feel like it's just a flashback to the Lockie Jones selection.
He could be in and out, exactly. It's just frustrating. I think at this point, rookies, you got to look at their job security if there's enough to look at it. If there's not enough rookies to look at, you just got to pick the ones that are playing.
So here's mine.
Midfield's loaded. You've absolutely loaded the.
I have. I've gone. Well, that's my problem in the recent years. As you know, last year I didn't have McRae, and that.
Yeah, so I think the first thing
major
people
problem
notice is you have Wits over Gorn, which is saved you 300k, which you spent on 4 genuine premium midfielders, whereas I've only really got the 2.5. The one other thing I would say is still no Lockie Neal for you, Dylan.
No.
So, real risky move, I think. I can't. He hasn't left my side once this year. I don't see a world where I can't have him. Even if it was an Oliver even if you wanted to keep Wits and it was an Oliver to Neal swap, I think that's even a better option. But I think you have to have Neal. That's really my only criticism.
Yeah. I'm biased, so I'm not going to really comment on the Neal situation, but I do think Oliver's a very good player and he should score very well. There's no reason to suggest he wouldn't score well. I would, however, be putting Jack McRae as vice captain.
Don't worry too much about the vice captain yet.
Yeah, otherwise I don't really. Yuland, I'm a bit worried about you having Yuland there. It'll be cash in the bank. It'll be a bit hard to get to any rookies that are going to play.
Yep.
So you might actually have to downgrade Oliver to Neal to get cash to get the rookies that are playing.
Gibcus, yeah.
Again, similar to what Darcy said, it's nothing against Oliver. I think I've had him in my team most of the year, and I think he's going to be a top 3-4 midfielder this year. But I think Lockie Neal has the potential to average 120, and when he's at 100k cheaper than Oliver, I think it's just someone that you have to have.
No, I completely understand. I'm still skeptical on this pick because he did look a little lethargic in the preseason game, but it might be just the premiership hangover. Could be just kicking into gear like Jack Steele, and he's even more expensive than Clayton. So I'll do a couple of last minute adjustments, but thank you for the criticism, boys.
This is the big reveal. So here it is.
No Lloyd. That's the first thing I noticed.
Yeah, no Lloyd. I wasn't too keen on him, but I think it was Zave. Was it Zave? Was it Bailey? One of you said that Lloyd hasn't scored above 100 in a preseason game for years, so he just doesn't try the preseason. Might have been Bailey Cocaine who said that.
Yep.
But I do like Stewart. Just remember him being so consistent. Last couple of years, consistent 110s. That's the theme of my back line. Except for Ryan. Ryan's just a bit of a risky pick, but Chris doesn't miss games. He should be consistent. Because I remember early last year, injuries is what killed me. So I'm trying to take a step to avoid the injury prone.
Good to see. Sorry.
Yeah, you go.
Good to see you've been abiding by some AFL Supercoach advice. Up back, Lukey Ryan.
Yeah. It wasn't that post that convinced me that I've had him for a couple of a week.
Cheeky promotion.
Yeah, McRae and Steele, locks. Brayshaw I do like because I feel like he can just have a big year, push 115. But 5 playing midfield does concern me. So I'm not 100% on him, but I really like the pick. It's left field. He's not very highly picked. I feel like he could score massively. Neil, I'm not going to not have Neil. Cripps, see, I talked about Cripps before. I'm not sure. Berry could be moved, but I do like him. Marshall is a pick I want to run with because I feel like he can just push into that upper range of the rucks this year, and not many people are really onto him. Plus, he's a bit cheaper. And then I like the forward line. The only change would be Taranto to Dunkley, but otherwise, I like the format of it.
Are we potentially forgetting Nat Fife? I believe he's at the 543,000 price check.
So that's a difficult one. If you want to talk about like durability and injury-prone people, and he's just about top of the mind. Like he's missed a lot of time over the last few years. Outside of his Brownlow year, probably the last 5-6 years, he's missed upwards of 5-6 games. So like it's a difficult one. We know if he is playing and he is playing midfield, he's going to score 115, 120 week in, week out. But it's just a really, really risky pick.
Basically, Neil versus Fife.
It'll be you go Neil, and if Fife's doing well mid-season, you pick him. I don't think Fife's a starting player, at least at this point. And it's not going to change much over the next 24 hours to 72 hours. So, that's likely the team I'm running with, unless I have a bit of a crisis and do that big trade.
If I had to criticize your team, Darcy, it would be Gibcus on field as well as De Koning. I think can't really afford to have both of them on the field. I think Dylan and I both went for premium defenders deep, which allowed only two rookies on field. And then, as you said yourself, with the without Horn Francis and with Taranto instead of Dunkley. But other than that, it's a different team, but I think I like it.
Just with the back line, the only players I thought I'd fit in as fourth would be between Whitfield and Sicily, and I'm not too keen on either of them for the purpose of my backline theme of consistency and of lack of injury proneness. And Sicily also has a tendency of getting suspended, so that reason I am choosing to avoid Whitfield and Sicily, and I don't really have any others I'd like to chuck in as my fourth.
Just before we conclude, I don't believe anyone mentioned Mitch Hinge for the Crows. If he is selected, how do you feel?
I touched on him really briefly. He was one. If he does get picked, I'll switch Gibcus for Hinge.
Same here.
In a heartbeat. The second he gets named,
He's just got a better scoring role.
For sure.
Anything else, boys?
Nothing else.
All right. So that
season to both of you and our viewers.
Yep. Good luck, boys. That will be the final team reveal I believe, unless we somehow have an unplanned
We'll probably
reveal.
probably go through our teams after each round.
Yeah.
We'll probably do that. But
All right.
it's the last time you see the team before the season.
Before the
you won't be able
season
to fully-
starts.
You won't be able to fully copy it again.
Okay, yeah. I like that. We'll introduce that. But that's all for today's episode, the Weekly Supercoach. That's it for this episode. Good luck to all our viewers for this year. If you have any advice, just shoot us a message on the account on Instagram. Be sure to follow all our socials. Links will be in the description. Order your new Footy Beanies. Follow at sts.podcast. And we hope you enjoyed. Thanks for checking us out. See ya.